Hello everyone and Happy New Year. I'm actually filming this on New Year's Eve, which is why I'm a little bit more dressed up than normal, but I'm super excited for the start of a new year. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday and there's just sort of this energy in the air of things that are possible when New Year is starting. So what I thought I would do today is share some of my garden New Year's resolutions for the year 2022. So basically, as I go throughout the year doing things in my garden, I kind of make note of what I like, what I don't like, and then I put together a list and just kind of added to it throughout the year of things that I want to make sure I do in 2022. So I have them right here on my phone, and I figured it'd be good to share them with you. Let me know also, because there's some that I would need recommendations on for things I want to do, so if you do have any recommendations on any of these, please let me know. So the first one that I want to start off with is getting my drip system set up to every single container, or at least almost every single container that I have. So last year, 2021, was the first time I've ever used a drip system in my garden, and it was life-changing. I can't recommend it more than anything else. If you have a garden and you don't have a drip system yet, definitely look into getting one for this next year. It's just made garden maintenance so much easier. I don't stress out as much when I know that we have to be gone. The watering is just taking care of itself. So I use the Proven Winner system, and I think I had the main kit, and then I did have to get some extra pieces to extend it, and I still have additional pieces. So what I have the drip system running to right now is basically all of my raised beds, the very large grow bags, the 30-gallon grow bags, and then some of the smaller ones. What I want to do next year is kind of finish putting everything together and get the drip system running to every single grow bag / container that I have, even the very tiny pots. That way I don't have to worry about anything not getting watered while I'm gone. So what we did this past year was anything that wasn't on drip system, I kind of shoved to one side of the deck where there was shade, but we were never gone for that long, so that worked for those plants. But we do have a couple trips coming up where we'll be gone for at least 5, maybe 6 days. So I don't think just putting them in the shade for that long without any water is going to work out. So that, I would say, is my #1 goal for this year, is just to get drip running to every container that I have in my garden. My next one, and this is the one where I'm gonna need some recommendations, is to start composting. So I haven't done any composting up until this point. Compost that I added to my garden this year, or 2021, I got from a local garden center, and I would really like to start making my own compost, especially with all the kitchen waste that we have. So basically what's happened so far is I start to look up online how to compost. I'm overwhelmed by the amount of options that are available, and then I do nothing. And that was basically the process I went through all of 2021. Now in Chicago, I know there are a few options. Well, 2 main options. One, I can either do it myself, or 2, I can use one of the composting companies here where they give you a container, you put your composting items in it, you leave it out, I think maybe once a week or every 2 weeks, and they pick it up, and then they bring you compost at some point throughout the year. I would say ideally, I would love to be able to do it myself, just so I have a little compost system up on the deck in the garden. I can use it when I need it, and I don't have to wait for it to be dropped off at a certain time. But of course, that's also gonna have a lot more work that I have to put into it. So let me know if you are composting at home, how you do it, if there's any certain compost bins you like, or if you are using a company, if there's any companies you like, and then hopefully I can narrow down my focus to just a few different types of ways that I can compost, and hopefully choose one for 2022. So that is definitely high on my list of things to do. Next, I want to try one new herb or vegetable and one new flower in my garden. So something completely different, not just a new tomato variety or a new zinnia variety, even though I'm definitely doing that as well. But I want to try something completely new in the garden that I never have before. For 2021, I did a lot of new things. I think the majority of what I grew, especially for flowers, were all new. Vegetables, the okra that I grew was new to me this year, and I've learned that a family of 2 does not need 2 okra plants because they produce like crazy. So if you have any recommendations of vegetables or flowers that you think would be good to test out that are maybe slightly out of the ordinary, let me know. I've grown most of the, I would say, like typical vegetables that gardeners grow: tomatoes, cucumber, zucchini, eggplant. I did melons last year, which I'm not gonna do this year because they took up too much space and it wasn't enough of a yield for me to give them that dedicated space on my deck. But if there's anything that you like to grow, let me know in the comments below, and then that can at least give me some inspiration, and hopefully others inspiration as well, for some new things to try out in 2022. Next on the list, so kind of in general, I think where I'm going with my garden next year is away more towards fruits and vegetables, even though I'm still gonna have fruits and vegetables in my garden, and have a higher percentage of what I'm growing towards flowers. So why this shift is happening is just kind of what I've been interested in. I think when I first started gardening, so when our deck was much smaller than we have right now, I focused mostly on vegetables and maybe just had a few flowering plants as accents. But I really loved growing flowers last year. So I definitely want to have even more of my garden being taken up by flowers. And what I will hopefully like to do from that is be able to give little cut flower bouquets away. Definitely to my neighbors. I think it would also be fun just to like set up some mason jars on the sidewalk with bouquets and offer them to people walking by. There are some nursing homes nearby. It's Chicago. There's a lot of organizations that I think it would be great to donate some bouquets to. So I really hope to do that. That's one of the reasons that I want to have more flowers this year in the garden than I had last year. I might even expand my garden to the other deck. We'll see about that, but that's something that I'm really hopeful that I can do for 2022, just kind of spread the love and joy by giving away free flowers. Something else that I want to do in my garden, so another resolution, is to make my own teas with the herbs that I grow. So for, I think it was maybe a Black Friday sale, I got discounts on some online courses around herbalism. I think I purchased 3 courses and they were like $15 altogether. So I've been watching some of those. They've been really informative. I really like them. And it's been inspiring to see how you can make your own brewed teas with the herbs that you grow in your garden. Up until this point, basically what I've done with my herbs is cut them, trim them, dry them, and then use them in cooking. But I really haven't done much with tea. I did a little bit with chocolate mint by mixing it into kind of other pre-made teas blends that I already have. But I would love to be able to make my own tea blends, put them in jars, store them, and just use them throughout the year. So when I'm planning my herb garden, and I'll probably do a whole separate video on this, but I want to basically create a list of teas that sound good to me, and then I will plan my herb garden around that, as well as the herbs that I just love to use in cooking, but be very kind of precise as far as what herbs I'm going to buy so that I can use them to make my own teas. And I think that'll just be really fun and exciting to do for my garden next year. Next, so I think you know that my greenhouse, which I think really would have done amazing had we not had the really strong winds, but the winds broke my greenhouse. I haven't been able to put it back up because things were bent and broken, and plus if we get another windstorm, the same exact thing will happen again. I have been able though to recycle most of the pieces, or at least know how I'm going to recycle most of the pieces in the garden next year. But what I want to start to look into, and I don't know if this will even be a possibility because we are on a 3rd floor deck, is some sort of more permanent, stable greenhouse structure. And I'm not thinking something very large at all. Like maybe it isn't even something like I can fit in myself, but maybe something like a greenhouse cabinet type structure. I have absolutely no idea, but it's something that I want to look into more for 2022, because I would love to have some area where I can start seeds outside, keep some plants over the winter, again, without having to carry them downstairs, and not worry too much about if they're going to make it through the winter weather that we're going to have. So that's something that I would like to look into. I don't know if it's something that, like, let's say I even find a solution that we'd be able to actually do this year, but I definitely want to start the research process on a greenhouse that hopefully is not going to blow away in the wind. Next on my list, these are kind of, I would say, like smaller ones that should be easier for me to do, but I want to save more seeds this year. Next year. I saved a few in 2021, but I didn't really do a ton of it. I think I saved from 2 different flowers, the sunflowers that I was growing and what is the other one that I have? I saved some marigolds, but they're hybrids, so I don't think I'm gonna try to grow them again. I had extra of the zinnia seeds. What was it? I can't even remember now. But I have them sitting in my closet. And basically, I just want to be better about that next year. I don't have a seed storage system, which I think that'll help if I get some sort of organization around that. But because I'm trying so many more new flowers next year, I really want to save those seeds so that I can have them again year after year without having to worry about going out and purchasing them. Next on my resolution is to invest in better quality gardening tools. I feel like gardening in containers, I don't need as many tools as someone would need gardening, in their yard or on their land. I don't need like big shovels because my containers aren't that big. A lot of the stuff I can mostly do just with my hands. I barely actually use some of the tools. Well, one reason because they break, but that's why I want to invest in better quality hand tools, and hopefully it won't be too much of an investment because it is tools that are on the smaller end. But the ones that I've been using ever since I started gardening, I got off of Amazon 3 years ago, and if I even try to dig anything that's not very loose and fluffy soil, the handle will break off. I've tried super gluing it a few times, but it's still not very sturdy. So I would love to invest in actually some good quality tools, learn how to take care of them, clean them regularly, sharpen the tools when needed, and I think it would just make gardening a lot easier. It's not that easy right now, but I did notice a difference when I switched up from garden gloves that I got on Amazon to garden gloves that I got at the garden center. They were just much better quality. I can grip onto plants that might be a little sharp or pointy without actually hurting my hands, which was a game changer for the last year. So just kind of expanding my tool set with better quality tools for 2022. Next on my list here, so I have the garden obviously, but there are some other outdoor places around our home, and even if it's not something I can create a garden in, I would like to put out more pots or more flowers just in different areas. I have a couple on our front steps, but what I would also like to do, there's this product called Plant Traps. I'll link that below. I'd really like to get a couple of those, and it helps you hang or set your plants kind of over the ledge of a balcony. We have kind of a railing that goes down our front stairs, and I think it'd be really cool to have some plants kind of hanging over the railing. I think that'd be really pretty, growing a plant down the railing, so I'm gonna try that. I also have in my head potentially putting flower boxes on our front gate and then having something like petunias kind of trailing over our gate. Because when I walk around the city, I absolutely love to see kind of the iron gates that are just covered in plants or covered in flowers. So I do want to test out trying them in a few different places. I would want to make sure I remember to water them, potentially maybe get them up on a drip system as well, we'll see. But the garden that I have isn't really visible to anyone but me or anyone that's inside our house, and I would love to have flowers that are more visible to just people walking up and down the street. The last one I have on my list, and this is also something that I would say ranks kind of higher on my list than other things, but I want to get more involved volunteer-wise with some sort of garden-related thing in Chicago. I know there are some nonprofits that I've donated to, but I really want to get into volunteering with a specific group or organization. I think it would be easiest, again, because I tend to get overwhelmed with all the options, to find one that I really like and start there, and then as I have more time, kind of expand into other areas. Because I do think, especially in the city, not a lot of people are really exposed to gardening because there's not necessarily a lot of land, or people don't have a lot of land to garden on. But there are some really great organizations that are taking over empty lots, creating flower farms there, creating community gardens. So I would like to look into either working with a nonprofit or working somehow with a community garden in 2022, and just giving my time to kind of beautify the city and give people something to do that's really enjoyable. So those are my resolutions for 2022. I don't feel incredibly overwhelmed by any of them, which is great. I think most of them are definitely doable. They're just reminders of things to do once I'm out there. And I will definitely take you along as I fulfill my resolutions. And I think it'll be fun to look back at the end of 2022, so just shooting a year ahead now already in time, and see how many of them I've accomplished. Hopefully all of them, maybe even more than what I had on my list would be exciting as well. But if you have any resolutions for your garden, let me know in the comments below. And other than that, thank you so much for watching. Again, I hope you had a wonderful new year and are excited for the year ahead. I will see you in the next video. Bye.